Alright guys, TacticalRab here again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. The CDL might be quite a while away still, but it doesn't mean we don't have lots of tournaments upcoming, especially a Black Ops 3 Throwback tournament potentially happening tomorrow that Zoom revealed a lot of the teams for last night. There are some scary teams in there, no doubt about it, including an OpTic FaZe crossover that might be very difficult to beat. Very much enjoy to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Here's Scump at the Rangers game last night doing the first pitch. It was, it's funny because from some angles it looks like he actually nailed it, but from this angle you can see that it went a little bit low. So anyway, there you go. So it hit a bit of a bounce here, and but from this angle it looks absolutely fantastic, right? I mean, honestly, I kind of want to see this compared to the Envoy one. Scump's father was a baseball guy, right? So I suppose there's something to be said for that. But yeah, OpTic was actually on the mount here itself. So pretty cool stuff. They've got that partnership going on now with the Rangers there in Texas. But before we move on to this tournament that might be going on tomorrow, I did want to mention this news from the Royal Ravens, because it's now basically confirmed, it will be later today it seems, based on the rumours we're seeing, that they will be no longer in London. And this is just like, it's such a travesty really for European COD fans. We'll get into it now. So Ravens tweet this out this morning at precisely 9:07 AM. Ravens declared your immediate takeover on runway 19, holding whatever 8 hours 53 minutes. And it turns out that if you look at how long it takes roughly to get from London to North Carolina, Charlotte, it's basically 8 hours 50 minutes or so, and this would align with roughly 1 PM Eastern this afternoon and 6 PM UK time. That's probably when they're going to announce it, based on 9:07 my time plus 8 hours 53 minutes. That's what it works out to be. And yeah, so actually Jacob L looked into this and did the analysis courtesy of Google Flights, I suppose, and then it was spotted, or maybe Jake Hell already knew this and was just waiting for Ravens to imply it, that the Carolina Royal Ravens trademark has been filed. I mean, it sounds pretty terrible to me. It doesn't even make any sense anyway, because the whole point of the Royal Ravens is it's tied to London, right? So that's kind of like the Ravens on the Tower of London. Like, they have this whole thing going on about that, the 6th Raven and all this. Like, it's related to kind of, you know, British folklore in some respects. I'm not exactly sure how that works with Carolina, but whatever. Like, I don't really care anymore. London has just been a terrible franchise for the last several years. So as JKL says, the Carolina Royal Ravens trademark was filed by Rect Global and went live on August the 28th. So this is happening now. It seems like this is a done deal. Obviously, for those of us UK and European Call of Duty fans, we went from having 2 teams in Europe when the CDL launched, which was, you know, I think a lot of people said, damn, only 2 outside of North America. Like, we could have had another one, or could have had one in maybe APAC or Australia or Sydney or something like that. Didn't happen though. And over time, Paris has now gone to Vegas, and now London has left as well. So, you know, the whole Call of Duty World League we had a few years ago has disappeared. Now, that's not to say that players in these regions aren't doing very well, because they are. And if anything, this is probably the best time ever to be a European COD player in some sense, because there's been lots of those guys joining kind of mixed teams, shall we say, out in Minnesota, Toronto, plenty of teams that are doing things like this, in addition to even Los Angeles Thieves now, and then you've got Miami Heretics that have gone full Spanish. So to be a European COD player, you're actually, it's not too bad compared to how it has been before, but you know, playing for a local franchise isn't really going to happen in the same way, and it's unlikely necessarily that London now will go for British players as a result of this move, in the same way that it's not like Paris ever went for French players, right? Even though they had their chances to get HyDra, but they decided to pass up that opportunity for whatever reason they came up with at the time. So yeah, no London team. That also means no London event. Now, we're not going to get a London event anyway, because this organisation is a complete mess. Rect Global weren't going to put one on anyway. They don't have the money, they don't have the funds, and honestly, the chances of a London event now are, I would say, even if anything, slightly higher, just because it always was going to require the CDL to be the ones to put on the event if they were going to do it anyway, because London as a franchise were never going to put a bid in to do their own event. So I think there's even more chance, slightly more chance now, that we get a situation like what happened with Vegas when they had the World Championship there, such as having maybe champs in London, maybe a kickoff event in London, I don't know. But I think there is still a chance that it might happen. They're holding the World Series of Warzone thing there in a couple of weeks' time, so with any luck it's still true. But still, what do you you guys think about this? Carolina Royal Ravens, I mean, whatever. They're going to move to Charlotte. It was known for some time, but it's now officially locked in. But yeah, it just leaves the entirety of European COD for teams completely barren. And I can't imagine the CDL is lasting that much longer based on evidence such as this. And what team are they going to form? Because, you know, as JKL says, Britain to America, it's quite likely they might form a team and they might, you know, take some players away from what could have potentially been the Los Angeles Guerrillas roster, right? There were rumors around what they might do. I mean, we've heard literally zero rumors about this for some time now as to, you know, whether they're going to get Clay and Attach and what else they might do with their roster, because there's some other options out there of players that haven't yet been signed. Obviously, Nasty, I think, is still a fantastic player, and definitely I can see him hopefully back on the Ravens for the new year, even if it's not technically in London anymore. But maybe if Ravens still have some money around and now they are based, you know, in Charlotte and obviously Los Angeles Guerrillas, we don't know what's going on over there with their roster, maybe Clay and Attach, you know, things could happen there, right, with this new look weird Ravens team. And, you know, what SMGs you put around that remain to be seen. Maybe there's some challenger options, maybe it gets some of the players that are remaining from the CDL spot last season. But if we do get a Clay and Attach reunion, it's kind of nice just to look at how many events they played together. 24 events, 4 championships, made 8 finals, really good average placing to be fair as well. Only placed outside of the top 8 one time at Anaheim 2017. And I mean, to think about, the majority of those finals appearances they played the OpTic Dynasty, and they won a significant portion of them regardless. So let's go on then to talk about this tournament that is upcoming. So Zuma having got definitely involved in forming that kind of Kings CDL Warzone tournament and helping that happen. We believe the CDL has said, you know what, Zuma, when the game launches, you can run, you know, a tournament on that game, which is going to be really good. Now, that doesn't necessarily stop Zuma running throwback tournaments right now for the next couple of weeks. Now, the rumor was a few days ago now, and Zuma actually said it on stream, that he was planning some sort of Black Ops 3, which, well, I will be there, and potentially Cold War tournament as well to happen over the next couple of days. And it seems as of yesterday, we now have a bit of an update on that. There was also this that was spotted where Zuma accidentally leaked this on stream, where you know, he kind of pulled this thing up from the Creator League, and it was noted that he'd had a chat here with HyDra and Pred, where he said, I have a Cold War tournament coming up, and it's kind of saying, hey guys, do you want to get involved and come along? Now, it turns out, according to this at least, there's a potentially Black Ops 3 tournament coming up tomorrow, as Zuma says, Black Ops 3 tournament September the 6th, a variant tournament, Hardpoint Search and Destroy Uplink, because that was one of the questions he raised a few days ago, was like, if we do a Black Ops 3 throwback tournament, how do we do it, right? What game modes do we play? Because back in the Black Ops 3 days, when it was actually played in the CWL, when, you know, we actually had a World League, they used to play 4 game modes. It actually wasn't even 3 game modes then. The series would go Hardpoint, Search, Uplink, Capture the Flag, Search. That was your best of 5. And it was always funny watching it as a kind of UK European COD fan, is because the teams outside of the States were always quite good. We were always quite good at Hardpoint and Search and Destroy especially, but the amount of times our top teams would just get bodied in Uplink and CTF was just tragic, to be honest. Like, the American teams were so much better at Uplink and CTF. But Uplink is generally the preferred game mode, and I think the more fun one to watch. Capture the Flag was not bad in Black Ops 3, but I do think that if we were doing it today, I think Hardpoint, you know, if we were going to do a best of 5, Hardpoint Search, Uplink, Hardpoint Search would probably be the way to go, as it was done in Infinite Warfare, of course, when Capture the Flag was not played as a competitive game mode that season. But this more likely is going to be best of 3s, right, with those 3 different game modes, and all game modes are great to watch in Black Ops 3, but these are supposed to be the teams as it stand. Now, I don't know all of these players, such as, well, some of the, shall we say, Black Ops 3 grinders, and this is why some of these teams might be better than some people expect. I'm not exactly sure who aBeZy is, but so one of these teams, now these could change, but if this tournament is happening tomorrow, you got to think that a lot of these are pretty much locked in now. So Sib, Kismet, obviously a duo now on the New York Subliners, Havoc, who knows Kismet quite well and could maybe have been on the Subliners during the Vanguard year, then aBeZy. Now, these next kind of like 2-3 teams, I think are going to be the favourites here because, well, firstly, you've got to look at this Dashy team. Dashy, Simp, aBeZy, Proto. Like, Proto, of course, was a CDL player for Seattle Surge a couple of years ago during MW19 and has been a notable player. But, okay, on paper, he's not on the level of Dashy, Simp, and aBeZy, but that's a pretty scary trio, you know what I mean? Like, you take Dashy from an AR perspective, who's ridiculously good at Black Ops 3, you pair him up with Simp and aBeZy, and Simp was, when I watched this guy, Simp the Jetpacker, or whatever he used to go by back then, Simp the Sick Joke, whatever whatever it was. Like, he was just unbelievably good at Black Ops 3 when I used to see him play this game. And then you've got aBeZy, who has been practically dominating all of the tournaments so far. So that is a very scary team, there's no doubt. You've then got potentially a Seam Enable Classic Gunless, that's a nice team. Cammy, Joe, Vivid, +1, so kind of like a mix of Thieves and the Minnesota Rocker. Attach, we don't know elsewhere. And then we have the rest of the OpTic team, Kenny, Shotzzy. So, you know, if they could get Pred, I don't know if they'd be allowed kind of like 3 players from the same team, whether Zuma wants that to happen, maybe not. So it might just have to be Kenny, Shotzzy, and they'll have to get probably a pretty good duo, because I don't know how much Black Ops 3 Shotzy's played. His movement on Black Ops 3 will be incredible, given a bit of practice, but I don't really know if he's played the game much at all. So I don't think you can immediately be expecting Shotzzy to, you know, spawn in and hit some crazy wall bounces and all this type of stuff when he hasn't, you know, played the game all that much, I don't think. So that's one team. But the other team is then we look at Drazah and Cell from FaZe, with then TJ and Optimum. That's a very good team, potentially. And then this is the team that I actually think is going to be underrated, is this team with Presage. Because, you know, these are the way these tournaments tend to go. Everyone hypes up, and for good reason, a team like Dashy, Simp, and aBeZy, right? For, you know, obviously that's going to be scary. But the players that tend to win these throwback tournaments, it's the same thing with the Black Ops 4 ones that they used to do, where like Estriel and that would win. It's the grinders, you know, the Black Ops 3 grinders, the likes of Presage, that have played this game for the last like 8 years basically since it actually came out, and every time that the pros go back to these games to play Chals on them in the off season, they're like, oh, is this guy hacking? Like, you know, it's been a talking point of the last couple of weeks with other players. Freezy, I think, was the guy's name that was in conversation, but he's a German guy, so I don't think he's getting involved here because of ping and that type of stuff, and probably some players still think he cheats. But still, this is kind of one of those grinder teams, you know, like I don't know how much Black Ops 3 Simp and aBeZy have played lately, whereas I know that Illy, Prolute, Decimate, and Presage have been playing a lot of it, and they've got a grinder in there as well for good measure. So that's a pretty nice team. I would say that if these are the teams that are formed, I think that Illy's team is quite possibly the team to beat. But, you know, you can't really, I mean, Dashy's team, you can't really look past that either too much. And also, given the fact that aBeZy has been practically running everything so far this offseason, especially the kind of MW2 COD Kings tournament, where he either won, came second, or was right up there in like basically every single round of the tournament, including winning quite a lot of money so far in this offseason as well. But, you know, this just goes to show that some of these guys, especially the likes of Drazah, Illy, TJ, Presage, and others, they've been playing Black Ops 3 for weeks at this point since Champs ended, and it seems possible that players that are kind of getting on the wave round about now might not be in quite the position, right? I mean, wall runs like this that obviously Illy and others are aware of, you know, Shotzzy might not know about this type of stuff, right? So, you know, and obviously back in the day, the VMP was used a little bit more. Nowadays, it's the CUDA. Wow, is he actually going to, well, he obviously is going to 1v4 this, because otherwise it wouldn't be on Twitter, but wow, that was actually disgusting. We have to go full screen for this one, just to kind of show it, you know, so yeah, so this is like some of the guys they've been playing with. Illy, Prolute, and Presage are already getting some practice in there, I guess, with pretty much their team. This low wall run is really nice. One other question I have is, because when you wall run this, for example, you will make some small noise, with even with dead silence on, when you're wall running things. And I don't know if they're going to find a way, as they did in fairness with the MW2 kind of tournaments, to ensure that sound equalization is off. They kind of managed to find a way to do that recently, and at least make sure that it's not a complete shambles. But it is always a little bit of a concern that if sound EQ is on, it's going to make the game not play so well. So hopefully they can resolve that, because we want Black Ops 3 to play as Black Ops 3 originally did. But very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.